I mí fiara fis a héineag, tháinig an seodlas orga seo chun solas nuair a díle bheith a cant a Sasanna. Sa fictúr tá saidir Sasanach, Guy Vickery Pinfield, a maríomh ar hráidna bhlá clia ar an ceathrú lá fiche de bhí obrán nédig a séideach, an chéad lá d'airí amach na Cásca. Seo scéal Guy Pinfield, mistéir taibhsiúil an ir sa seodlas. Thosaigh an tairí amach nuair a dúnsaigh an tarm carga Caisleán bhlá clia, lárannad import na Breataine in éireann, an chéad vír in ráma mórcheachtain na Cásca.
Piús gur bé ceann áras mar a deartha cheannas hasanna ar éireann, Caisleán bhaile clia, agus gur fón ar locht éirí amach nédig a séideach Caisleán bhaile clia a gháil. Bhí na fórsaí míleta cóhé gothram in san éirí amach chéin. Ní éidir sin fód a heasamh mór an níos fuide ná mar a dhéon siad.
Tháinig trúpaí neartta an gorach agus ún siomh na rebelúnach. Á méid an pránóna maríomh Guy Pinfield, lieutenant a chuid na Irish Hussars.
Get the men back!
Bé Guy Pinfield an chéad ifigach Breatainach a maríomh san éirí amach. Níl mór an ósta going fin na Breatainnig a maríomh ach a gás Pinfield tá ólas nua tacail chun solas. Tá an chéad leidir faoi bhás Pinfield le fáil taobhistigh de Caisleán bhlá clia, áit raibh ospidéal míleta ag feimú ar i seachtain na Cásca. Agus tríd íochmhar ar siúl taobh mo, chuinnig duine do banaltrí an ospidéal díolann léithúil. Scríb sí faoi chaidir Sasanach dar a bhainim Mr. P. Ab é seo, Guy Pinfield?
Tá díalann seo hain scríb a banaltrí a bhí lonaí a Caisleán bhlá clia linn éirí amach na Cásca in 1960 agus ar rud a simúil ó híomh an túiris seo nó an díalann seo ná gur nílann an banaltrí seo go nílann sí chuirsís ar fearr a Mario le linn an achtar ag Caisleán bhlá clia agus starann sí an seo at about 11 p.m.
The man with dislocation of the knee was carried in. Did you know Mr. P? He asked. He was killed out there not long ago. I almost felt as if I'd been stunned. That terrible noise, which even then I had only partly begun to connect in my head with the wounded coming in, had meant the death of a man I knew.
Agus ní fis céhí an banaltrí seo.
Ní fis fearr, ní fis cé mar d níl ainm chuir leis an písa seo ach gur banaltra a bhí lonaí a Caisleán bhlá clia ag an lám.
Céir a bhí an banaltra? Agus an bé Guy Pinfield, Mr. P. Ardagla snéamh Pádraig, le bhíle ó náid inar maríomh Guy Pinfield. Thug déan amráiteach na hardaglaise, Jonathan Swift, ar a bhhat a chéad chóirthe na háirteise. Agus a measc na leachta na chuimhneáin, tá plaque a ardaíomh in an óir Guy Pinfield.
The plaque to Guy Vickery Pinfield is unique in this cathedral. We don't know when it was put up, but it's the only memorial in the cathedral to anybody, combatant or civilian, on either side, who died in the 1916 Rising, or as they put it, rebellion. Well, Jonathan Swift was a really great dean, and of course, for a man who restored so many monuments and indeed put up many monuments, I think he would have been intrigued by the mystery surrounding this particular one.
Buineann mistéir eile le Heilige Pinfield. Cuireadh a chorp in uaig sealadach in Ngordaoine Caisleán bhlá clia, áit ar chuireadh 7 corp eile le ling seachtain na Cásca. Ach má bhí an uaig sealadach fágah Pinfield ann tar éis an tairí amach.
Ag an lám in 1960 tugadh deisce chlán an drama Mario teachgadtí Caisleán bhlá clia agus na corpa thuaige agus tógadh chuid smúg an na corpa ag an lám sin. Gur rédig a Sasanna ar Caisleán bhlá clia, níor díon na dearmad an na corp a fágadh corp gáin sin. Cén fágur fágadh corp gáin bhlá clia agus cén fág nar thug an chlán ar eis go Sasanna díocha héisgur Mario an 1960.
Ligah Curt Pinfield agus cethar eile in Yarmouth go dtí gur aimsíomh iad a ríist in 1962. Seo seans ganán a tharspáin an corp Guy Pinfield á í eilecha i Ngordaoine Caisleán bhlá clia in 1963. Achar of Pinfield sa relic víle a Bratanach in Ránte Gormán im Leach Lia. Tá sé fi chréan sin go fóil. Cé hé gai Pinfield? Mr. P ó Ian an Valentre? Cé dardig an Plackton ar Douglas? Cén far nar glacah silleh ar harp? Tá na freagraí a bhad a géan ó náitin ar hit sé. Thug míad aig ar hasanna, ag tosnú le siomra cantála Garda Bishop Startford, 37 míle ó Huig ó London. Is an seo a díal of Seoldglas Pinfield I mí feara fis a héineog.
And I start the bidding at £500. Can I say 520 anywhere? 520, 580, 600 on the telephone. The locket, for all intents and purposes, looks like a classic little Edwardian gold locket, and it looked nothing special at all. We then did a little digging and found that he had been killed in Dublin in the Easter Rising in 1916. So this immediately alerted us to the fact that we've got something quite extraordinary, if not unique.
Díal of an Seoldglas 850 punt, ach nu raibh an cantalí sásta rá cé ceannaige. An chéad stop eile, Bishop Starford, ortar tóg of Guy Pinfield. Bhí anspéis ag an nucht an áitiúil sa Seoldglas.
When I spoke to the auctioneer, he told me that it was actually exceedingly rare to have a memento from the English perspective, and so that really sparked my interest, and I sort of followed it from there, just to find out more about who this man was. He clearly came from a fairly wealthy background. He went to public school. He was obviously somebody of note in the town. We haven't been able to find any direct descendants so far, but I'm sure if we keep digging, we can come up with something.
Dailse an observer ach an í ar son, ag glorach aon duine a bhí bio fós de chlucht Guy Pinfield. Dolling Bishop Starford go traum le ling an chéad cogadánda. Tá anim Guy Pinfield groundte lecht cuimhnachán an bhaile, in ein gur in éireann a Marive.
In modern terms, the number of young men who died in the conflict from the town is the equivalent of wiping out one of our local secondary schools. So if you put it in that context, the impact on the town was tremendous, and in the context of the war, being sent to Ireland may have looked as a bit of an escape in some ways. At this point particularly, early 1916, the impact of the war was truly being felt.
In 1908, thug Guy Pinfield aig ar Marlborough College, áit a raibh sé a bhachléin cónathe. Tá má calla a chud léanta scoile I gartla na chaláiste.
Now, I think you're going to enjoy this. One or two things I found. Now, this dates from his last term. It's an account by the captain of the house rugby team that he was in, a small player at left wing free quarter. He runs very well, being fairly fast, and possessing a good swerve, which he knows how to use. He's generally a sound collar and saves well. Here's a hockey team he was in, and I think he's up here in the corner.
This is him.
Yes, I think that's him, yes. He still looks youngish to me, but again, very slightly built. I'm sure his mother was ambitious, there's no question of that. Only son, I believe, and she must have seen this as a safe, middle-class, secure boarding school that would give a good education, whatever he wanted to go on and do. Another aspect of life that was quite important in the run-up to the First World War was, of course, the cadet force. And more or less the whole of the school was actually in the force at the same time. And it's rather sad when you look at them. Look at this one here.
Scale of it.
You've got, yes, and then there must be 300 or 400 boys there. Certainly Pinfield would have been in that. And you wonder what proportion of boys in that photograph actually were still with us.
I 1930 cúig Guy Pinfield go Ollscoil Cambridge, áit raibh saoil an Vic Lane tanmhach go maith. Ní fiostúin cén na hábhar rinne sé stadéireachta, mar níl fáca ag Gartlan na Hoscoile a cúpla mion sonra.
The next record that we've got here is the term book for the college. Guy Pinfield was here for Michaelmas term 1913, Lent term 1914 and Easter term 1914. And then after that there's no more ticks to say that he was here because he went to join the army.
Dína ón úsalacht na smó, the hagadíist agus déirhin cuid bhachaco gur lorug sa sail, sclépoch a bhí uatha dul an gam agus seola báid. Agus san dar nó na rincín the balls, thinking to. So the bheith an time ago.
Dag Pinfield Cambridge I 1950. Cúg sé isteach san airm agus seolamh go héirne. Tar éis tí scéal argúrdach a léamh san Bishop Stortford Observer, rinne duine de chlucht Pinfield teangháling. I shráid bhfuil beags na Cotswolds, bhúil mé le garnacht Guy Pinfield, Deanne Burtz.
Hello, Deanne. Hiya, I'm Padraig Finmarty. How are you?
Tá bailachán litricha agus cuimhnachán ag Deanne a chahan tuile solis Winter Pinfield.
So this was all compiled by his mother, presumably,
his mother, yes,
to keep his memory alive and his name alive.
And then that would have been given to my grandmother, his sister, and then my father had it. And we found it after my father's death. I'd never seen it before.
Rinne Winter Pinfield a good airgid na plándálacha té in Assam san Ind. Nuair a bosí a bheithar Guy, fós a bháthair Gertrude ahúr, agus bhog an clán go Sasanna. Rugh Guy Pinfield san Ind in 1895, ach feictar é in ár of Hasanna in 1901. Bhí Guy garda rifuair nóra a fós fear go nó Rockmasach Vincent Rutledge. Is Queen le Deanne Burtz a seanmháthair nóra, Drufuair Guy Pinfield.
Both my grandparents always changed every night for dinner, and that was even when they were on their own. They lived in quite a nice style. They had living in staff. So my brother and I, if we had a midnight feast, for instance, the midnight feast food was sent up by the butler or a table. But she was, I was very fond of her, and she was a wonderful grandmother. I don't remember her really talking about Guy. There was a picture that was always in her little sitting room of Guy with a little Scotty dog, but she'd never really talked about him to us.
Ní raibh seoglas Pinfield I shelf Deanne Burtz ur riamh, mar sin ní ise I dhéile. Ach tá cardan seo de eilece a fuair sí in Muscamutile in Aléir a Harr.
Well, it was found about 3 years ago and locked with no key, and so we had to break it open. And then we found all these things to do with Guy Pinfield inside.
Istíg sa Musca, cartan nolig a chur Guy go bháthair an gorach an 1950. Siodglas le pichtúr a bháthair. Agus bosca cipíní a buineh a thorp Guy nuair a marí bheith. Ach níos trúvéli na ein rud eile an titín dhearnach nar cathab riamh. I mí Brán 1960, bhí Guy Pinfield dúlgas sa chorach I Gildara.
I think my great-grandmother must have been really pleased that he went to Ireland and not to France.
Guy's family would have felt that he had been sent somewhere that was relatively safe. While other families were losing their loved ones, they must have hoped that he would come back to them.
Déchtí sé réire mar cosúla leis an ind mar hampla cuidan improcht. De cheapadidir go raibh sais ceis na hÉireann réide acu.
Tháinig éirí amach na Cásca in iar a dúig ar na húdaráis I Gasláin le Clia.
Nuair a chuoiníonn tú go raibh Sasanna agus go raibh impireacht na Breataine a treidir fud na cruinne ag an ná. Gur na mílte in éidir ag an ná. Ní hínta sé gur rahadar gur fiáil as éadan, fiáil dóhaite ar fad, an scían sa ghríim an seo.
Glúis Guy Pinfield agus buin saidúrí Breatainacha I dro síomh na Réabhlónach.
Get the men back!
Maríomh Guy Pinfield an géad lá d'éirí mach na Cásca, an ceathrú lás fiche d'Abrán, 1970.
And there we have the first telegram is from the War Office to say that he has been killed. Yes. Okay. And the second lot of telegrams are from the Queen, King and Queen.
The King and Queen have heard with deep regret that your son has lost his life in the recent disturbances in Ireland, and desire me to express their sincere sympathy with you in your sorrow. Keeper of the Privy Purse.
And these then are letters from his comrades mainly, is it? From
his comrades and commanding officer and people that knew him in Ireland.
Your boy was shot, probably from a window. He gallantly kept on firing back until he became unconscious. They then got him into the castle, but he died 10 minutes after.
His men can't say enough of his pluck and bravery, the way he died fighting for his country. Poor little Pinny. We'll all miss him so.
Poor Guy was my best pal. His murder is a crime, which I for one will not forgive Ireland for. It was a horrible crime. It has left my blood boiling with indignation.
It was a rotten way to lose one's life. Shot by a lot of rebels, but you can be assured that he died as gallantly as any officer in France has landing his troops. The only thing about it is that the behavior of the troops and the gallant way they gave their lives during that terrible Easter has never been appreciated to the extent it should have been.
Mínín litir amháin ó ifigach Breatainach an chúis gur fágab corp Guy Pinfield in Ardín Gasláin le Clia.
I was present when his body was interred on the night of the 26th in the castle garden. I trust you won't think it presumptuous on my part to suggest that his body be left where it now lies. The ground will, of course, be consecrated, and the place will be one of high honour, distant only about 150 yards from where he so gallantly fell.
Buine nitir eile le hard aglas snéamh Pádraig, agus an fleck cuimhnachán a ardíomh in an Guy Pinfield, an tain fleck san ard aglas a bhainin le éirí amach na Cásca. Míomháin tréis a bháis, scríomh Comhlache Pinfield chuig déan na hard aglase ag leabhar cad an fleck a chur in áirde, cadíomh dóibh agus tá sé le feiceáil fós. Agus céir faoin manatra a nehanid a chunig díalan in ospidéal Mhíleata Gasláin le Clia. Is féidir anim a chur lé don chéad úr, Vivian Smiley ó Chlán Chlúteach Leish. Scríomh sí chuig Móthar Pinfield an Mr. P a luach sí sa díalan.
I met Mr. Pinfield at a dance in the Curragh in January. He was so full of life. He enjoyed that evening so thoroughly and seemed to like Ireland. Then to hear he was lying dead in the house here, killed by our people just outside our gates. It seemed too awful to be true. I thought so often that week of his people, what the shock must have been to them and what they must think of Ireland. Yours truly, Vivian Smiley.
Ardín litir eile ceis nua, céir a bhí Miss Faulkner. Caithfidh go raibh aithne fíormhaithe ar Pinfield, mar scríomh ifigach síntreach chomhthaí le mion san rí a bháis agus a chuid foc le scur.
They were met with a volley from some windows, and Mr. Pinfield got most of it in his breast. He fell at once, saying, "For God's sake, get the men back!"
Get the men back!
He struggled all the time and wanted to get back. He died wanting to fight those Sinn Féiners.
Tá einam Guy Pinfield groundta i gluch taobh mud a chéipéal áitiúil. Is léir ón ord a bítar gur cuireadh Guy ar an lecht tar éis na henmacha eile ach ní a bháthar béidir. Taobh istigh den chéipéal plaques súntasach eile.
May have been put there by his mother or his sister to remember him, and it's right at the front in front of all the pews, so shows you how much care and attention and how much love has gone into ensuring that he is remembered.
Chuoinnig na scolanna ar an níorghaltaí a maríomh i ngach coga. Tá 740 ainm groundta never I go láiste Marlborough. Chomá le leabhar chuimhneacháin.
Now, Patrick, this is one of our War Memorial Roll of Honour books, and this is the book for Preshute, which is Pinfield's house, and there's a citation and a photograph in here for every one of the dead officers from that house, and here's Pinfield, a photograph of him in army uniform, and there is a citation.
He was stationed at the Curragh with the 10th Reserve Cavalry Regiment in 1916 and was sent to Dublin when the rebellion broke out. He was killed in action during the rising on April 24th, Easter Monday.
Yeah.
Bhí drogel údarás na Breataine a henta sa thuairta saidúrí a maríomh le ling seachtain na Cásca. Bhí nóir orthu faoin éirí amach.
Maidir leis dearcha a bhí ag rialtas na Breataine, ní bhíon achtar beglóirmhre ag arm na Breataine, achtar bhaile clí in 1970. Agus beidir nar bhreisiad gur mar a chéile an treide bhí a chur suas ag a gcuid mic agus ag a gcuid compánaigh héin in mhaile clí sa bhí ar bun sa bhelg nó níos faide géin.
If you died in Flanders, you were sharing in the great sacrifice to your country, and most people wouldn't have considered the thought that their sons might have ended up being killed in the home country, as it were. So I'm sure that parents of the few who were killed in Ireland would have wanted their sons to be associated with the great mass of people who've been killed in Flanders.
As far as Guy Pinfield's mother Gertrude was concerned, I think she was quite determined that he was not to be the poor relation in any history to do with that time. And 1916, obviously, there were thousands of people being killed in Europe, and this was considered by the English, I'm not saying by the Irish, considered by the English to be a very small thing, and she was determined it wasn't going to be a very small thing.
Ní fiúin cé díal seodglas Pinfield nó cén fá, a chuidig an seodglas ling aithne chur chuine amháin den cé séideag saidúr Breatnach a maríomh le ling an éirí amach. Tá léamh eile le fáil ar bhór achtar starre, bre an náisiún beidir, ach bás agus brise chrí chomá.
Reading the letters, I think it was a short trip to Ireland, and then he was due to go to Normandy to join his regiment there. And the chances are that, of course, he probably wouldn't have survived France either. A young man dying to his family is an awful tragedy, and what a waste of a life, really.
It's very easy to walk past the War Memorial in the town, see the long list of names. Some of them might be familiar, their families are still in the town, but it doesn't really register with you. But when you see his face in the locket, you realise he was a young man with his whole life in front of him, and he died. And that's when you realise the loss that people were suffering.
Bhí Guy Vickery Pinfield bliain le cushion scór nuair a maríomh é. Tá sin I lí a rélig Breatnach faoi chréin na hÉirden.
Next episode, a young woman risks her life as the battle for an independent Ireland rages on the streets of Dublin. Who was this unlikely hero who trained as an expert bomb maker and sniper and sacrificed everything to help the rebels of 1916?